Tractate Bava Batra, page 119. The subject of women's rights, it's a not only contemporary, well, important, known subject. We're going to visit the first incidents that we recall in world history that somehow women have the courage to go and express themselves and not only be accepted but also receive a lot of estate and justifications to the rights. It's a story of the 5 daughters of Tzlofchad, a fellow that passed away during the time the Jewish people were wandering in the wilderness, from the book of Numbers, chapter 27, and how they appear before the leadership of Moses, Aaron, and the head of the Jewish rabbinic quarter of judges, and eventually Moses, for all kind of reasons, did not respond and said, let's bring it before the tent of meeting, before the Almighty. And God not only justified them, later on we're going to learn that they called them the word of righteousness, wisdom, understanding, and more. So obviously there is a lot of derivative and a lot to learn. So let's start page 119, 9 lines from the top of the page. The Mishnah tells us that one of the accomplishments of the 5 daughters of Tzlofchad is to get their father's right over firstborn, which is a double portion. Let's make sure we all remember that. The grandfather estate Hefer, the father estate within his father, but since he was a firstborn, is a double portion. So therefore, so far we understand that they receive at least 3 portions, which is the estate of the grandfather, the estate of the father, and the double portion of the father since he was a firstborn. Ve'amai, how come you tell me that they receive a double portion? Why? Let's read first the text and understand. They said, Ra'uihu ve'en abchor notel bera'ui ki bemuchzak. If you remember, in the past several days we learned 2 different concepts. One, it's called Ra'ui, which is a potential estate, and you have muchzak, which is something that it's a current estate. If you remember, we talked about husband-wife. If she have, for example, a father that have an estate, and she's the only daughter, as long as the husband-wife are together, if her father passed away, she inherited it, and therefore the husband have an access to that. However, if she passed away before her father, then the husband cannot claim for that estate because that's a potential, but it's not a current. So here's the same thing. The Tzlofchad, neither Tzlofchad nor Hefer, but in this case Tzlofchad as the firstborn did not enter the land. So it means that in hypothetically speaking potential, as the firstborn inherited not only 1 portion but double portion because he is the firstborn. Yet since he was not there, enter the land, he passed away in a desert. Therefore, why you give his daughter a double portion as the firstborn in title? Why you not instead just give them the portion that he entitled? Because he was not yet, in a sense, part of the people who entered the land. So the answer is, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, bitidot ho'alim. Here we're not talking about real estate, we talk about movable property, which is basically the yetedot ho'alim. It's like the tent pegs and other assorted movable property that Hefer possessed. So that's what it's all about. So that's the portion they get. Mativ Rabba, Rabbi Yehuda Omer bno Tzlofchad notlu 4 halakim shneimar vayiplu chevel Menashe 10. If you remember on page 118b, we explained that it was divided different way. The 6th portion of the tribe of Menashe and the 4 portion of the daughter of Tzlofchad divided, and they used the word chevlei, which is a not only plural, but also they used the word 10 parts fell to Menashe, which means that the portion of the land, not simply movable property. So the answer is אלא אמרה בארץ ישראל מוחזקת היא. Rabbah says that Eretz Israel is considered already possession, because as we learn many times that God promised, ונתתי לכם אותה מורשה, God promised the estate to our people, so therefore it was double portion because of that. מייתי ואמר חידקה, שמעון השקמוני היה לו חבר מתלמידי רבי עקיבא, וכך רבי שמעון השקמוני אומר, יודע משה רבנו שלא סלופחן לרשותם. Don't think for a second that Moses wasn't smart man that knew exactly that they are right and they deserve the same right as the sons. However, אבל לא יודע אם נוטלות חלק בכורה אם לאו. He wasn't sure if they entitled for this specific part, which is the double portion, or not. To refresh our memory, they entitled or they receive 4 different estates. The grandpa, the father part of the grandpa, the brother of the father, the uncle who passed away. But the other part, which is the right to collect double portion because their father was the firstborn, that's something that Moses wasn't sure. So in that sense, he presented krevet mishpatan lifnei Hashem. That's basically the way that most of the Mefarshim, Ritva and others said. The Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, in the book called Sefer HaMitzvot, Shoresh Aleph, hold that not every mitzvah Moses know the whole details. Some of the mitzvot he gets b'shat maaseh, when it, in a practical way, needs to be practiced. But anyway, ורואה את הפרשת נחלו לכתב על ידי משה, אלו זכו בני צלופחד ונכתבה על ידן. So basically this portion entitled to be written by Moses, but because of their great merit, the privilege of the order of Tzlofchad, it's written by them. יודע משה רבנו שמחושש במיתה. Moses knew that the one who got a wood deserved to have a capital punishment. The Torah speaks in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 15, of one who violated Shabbat by collecting wood, and the question is if it's the type of one of the 39 work. One is called me'amer, one is called hotza'ah, the transmitting a wooden part that is untouched, unrooted 4 cubits in the public domain, or kotzer, like a harvesting that he collected from the trees. That's basically Gemarrah in Shabbat, page 96b. But anyway, so they said, the Torah said clearly in the book of Shemot, chapter 31, that one who violated Shabbat deserved that penalty. But he said, he wasn't sure what type of capital punishment this fellow received. And the same apply to the one who basically gather, the wood gatherer, that should be written by Moses, but the one, the wood gatherer, was found guilty, and the portion was written through the incidents involving him. So is there something that we can derive ללמדך? Page 119b, שמגלגלים זכות על ידי זכאי וחובה על ידי חייב. Basically the merit is brought about by means of one who is a meritorious, and liability by means of one who is liable. So here you go by the way it is, the order of Tzlofchad, the righteous versus the one who violated Shabbat. That's obviously is the negative matter is written through him. So basically what you see here is a response, the way that Rabbi Chidka, a citation of Rabbi Shimon השקמוני. ויסגד אחרת ישראל מוחזקת. מה אם כמסתפקה לי? So if you tell me that it was already set up, that Eretz Israel is already in a possession for those people who left Egypt, so what exactly is the issue here? Why it's uncertain? Why it's a predicament? The big question is, if you talk about Eretz Israel, it's considered part of the right for those people who left Egypt. That's basically a portion that Moses was not so sure. Rashbam explained that that's what God clarified. And now the Gemara elaborates on that dilemma. Dichtiv, the Torah said in the book of Shemot chapter 6 verse 8, ונתתי אותה לכם מורשה אני השם. The Almighty promised that He give us the land as a heritage, for I am the Lord God. So Moses was unsure if the pasuk should be understood ירושה היא לכם מאבותיכם. This is something that you inherited from avotechem, from your ancestors, which means that basically you have the right already when you left Egypt, או דילמה, שמורישים ואינן יורשים, that they basically bequeath people who left Egypt, but not inherit the portion themselves, because they are destined to basically die in the wilderness. So they upashtu leitravayu, and God resolved the question for him. ירושה לכם מאבותיכם ומורישים ואינם יורשים. You have it inherited from your ancestors, and you basically can bequeath, can inherit it but not bequeath. והנדכתיב תביאמו ותיתמו הנחלתך, we said in the Song of the Sea, in Shemot chapter 15, you should bring it to them and plant it to them in the mount of your inheritance. So what they said, tevi'enu lo telemar elo tevi'enu, which is you bring them to the mount of the Lord, which means it happens sometimes to people. They basically prognosticated something and they don't know what they were prophesying. So the Torah said, "V'tamod damdo Tzlofchad לפני משה ולפני אלעזר הכהן לפני הנשיאים וכל הדת." The daughter of Tzlofchad stood up before Moses, Elazar, and the presidents of the tribe. אפשר עמדו לפני משה, meaning they first stand before Moses and then they stand before Elazar. How that can be? ולא אמרו להם דבר, and Moses and Elazar did not say anything in a response to their climate. And then ועמדו לפני הנשיאים, and then before the Kol Ha'edah, before the whole congregation, to get a response. If Moses doesn't have a response to them, how Elazar have a response to them? And if both doesn't have a response, how the presidents and all the congregation have a response to them? אלא סרס המקרא ודרשהו דברי רבי יושיע. So Rabbi Yoshia said, no, you have to learn and the other, like, transpose the pasuk and interpret it. First, the daughter went to the congregation and ultimately came to Moshe Rabbeinu. So they said, אבא חנן אמר משום רבי אלעזר בבית המדרש היו יושבים, which is the gathering in the place of study, Moses, Elazar, the presidents and the congregation, והלכו ועמדו להם לפני כולם. So they stand before them, which means they intend to ask Moses, but they basically want to honor everyone that they are together in assembly. And the foundation of this disputation is as follows: במאי כמפלגי מר סבר רבי חנן hold, חולקים כבוד לתלמיד במקום הרב, ומר סבר אין חולקים לכבוד לתלמיד במקום, אין חולקים. So basically the first one, Abba Hanan, hold that they basically the young or immature students should give respect to the one who is erudite and mature. Even there is a Rav is a teacher there, and is nothing wrong with that. And the other said, no, you don't do that when he's a rabbi. והלכת החולקין, והלכת אין חולקין, כאשר הלכת. You tell me one time that it's one way that you should do it, and the other one not. הלכת לא קשיא, had a פליג ורבה יקרה, had a פליג רבי יקרה. So you have to differentiate between that where his teacher himself accords to the student honor, and the other one is that where his teacher does not accord to his honor. Tana. So we learn in the Braita. We're now going to speak about the great righteousness, the 5 daughters of Tzlofchad. Bnot Tzlofchad chachmaniyot hen, darshaniyot hen, tzidkaniyot hen. The daughters of Tzlofchad were wise. They are well versed, erudite in interpretation of the pesukim, and they are righteous as well. Chachmaniyot hen shlefi sha'ah dibru. They are smart because they presented the case at a auspicious time. דאמר רב שמואל בר רב יצחק מלמד שמשה רבנו יושב ודורש בפרשת יבמים. It's going to teach us that when Moses stood up and taught the portion of Levirate marriage, שנאמר כי ישבו אחים יחדיו, אמרו לו אם כבן לנו חשובים תננו נחלה לבן, ואם לאו תתייבא ממנו, ומיד ויקרא משה את משפטנו לפני השם. So basically they said, if not, then it's a, we basically go by the mother. So she should be passed through Levite marriage. So Moses brought that case before God. Darshanyoten, the second one, Shayumrot, they interpreted because they were saying, Ilo hayal ben lo dibarnu, because son take precedent before daughter when it's come to inheritance. Vatanya bat. So we learn the Braita, another Braita, they will say that if he had a daughter, we will not have spoken. So the answer is, אמר רבי ירמיה סמי מכאן בת, אבל אמר אפילו היה בת לבן, לא דיברנו. צדקניות הן, the third one, שלא ניסו להגון להם, that they marry only to one who is befitting for them. So it means the Rashbam explained that they wait for a long time as a single woman until they find the proper dignified basher for them. תנא רבי אליעזר בן יעקב אומר אפילו קטנה שבהן לא נישאת פחותם 40 שנה. Even the youngest one was not married less than 40 years of age. How do you like that? איני, is that true? ואמר רב חיסדא נישאת פחותם בת 20 יולדת עד 60. If someone marries so young, she can bear children up to the age of 60. בת 20 יולדת עד 40. בת 40 שוב אינה יולדת. אלא מתוך שנצדקות הם נעשה להם נס כיוכבת. Because they are righteous, they have a miracle like יוכבת. יוכבת is the mother of Moses and the others. She is the mother of Moses and Aaron and Miriam, and she was a wife of Amram. So they said, דכתיב וילך איש מבית לוי ויקח את בת לוי. Because they said that the man from the house of Levi went and he took as a wife a daughter of בת לוי. Page 120, אפשר בת 130 שנה וקרא לה בת? So the Maharal explained in the book called גבורות השם, she was not a baby. She was 130 years old. So what do you call it? Bat Levi, the daughter of Levi. It's like a teenager. She's a mature adult woman. Furthermore, the Maharsha said it's nothing to do with the nothing mentioned the husband, the father of the husband, but it's just implication of youth, right? So the Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Jacob left Egypt, as we all know, left Israel 70 people. We're going to learn at length in Hashem on page 123. So זו יוכבת, שורתה בדרך ונולדה בין החומות. That when they left the land of Canaan to Egypt, she got pregnant, and later on, when they entered between the walls of Egypt, she delivered the child. דכתיב אשר ילדה אותה ללוי במצרים, לילתה במצרים ולילתה שלו במצרים. So here it was a rare case, יוכבת, daughter of Levi, but as we see that she was only delivered, meaning the final birth was in Egypt. But the Rashbam explained that the act of pregnancy was earlier when they are in the land of Canaan. ועמי קראו לה בת, so what's the reason we call her daughter? אמר רב יהודה בר זבידה מלמד שלמדו בה סימני נערות, נתעדן הבשר ונתפשטו הקמטים וחזר היופי לקדמותו, which means the flesh becomes smooth, the wrinkles were straightened out, and the youthful beauty returned to its place. So as you see, Rashi in Sotah 12 said that it's also applied to her period. So here that's example, the miracle that happened to the daughter of Tzlofchad, and it's even Torah Chaim said that they are in certain age, people ready to marry them, but there are many explanations what exactly happened. The Maharal, which is more Kabbalistic interpretation, he said that in the book called Gvurot Hashem, he said that at that time all the deliveries was not in a derech hateva, not in a normal way, like it's described in the Midrash, that 6 babies in one wound, and over there it was very common There is way more to discuss this matter. There's a book called Birkat Yitzchak that elaborates on that. We just dealt with a vignette, with the key point.